The alien meeting room was bigger than 3 football fields put together. Jake Morrison had never seen anything like it in his 42 years of life. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds could form up there if they wanted to. Hundreds of different creatures sat in floating chairs that moved without making any sound. Jake wore his best uniform, the dark blue one with all his medals. He was the captain of the UES Liberty, Earth's first ship built for talking to aliens. Behind him stood his crew. Dr. Lisa Carter carried a metal briefcase full of Earth weapons to show the aliens. Lieutenant Ryan Brooks kept his hand near his sidearm out of habit. Sergeant Kate Williams looked around the room like she was counting enemies. The alien in charge was tall and purple with 4 arms. His name was something Jake could not say right, so everyone called him Ambassador Purple. The creature wore robes that changed colors like a rainbow. When he spoke, his voice came out of a box that turned his alien words into English. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Ambassador Purple said. His voice sounded like music mixed with static. "We are the Galactic Confederation. We rule over 1,000 worlds and 47 different species." Jake stepped forward. "Thank you for inviting us. We're honored to meet you." A creature that looked like a giant bug started making clicking sounds. The translation box said, "These humans come from a Class 12 death world. How did they survive? Long enough to build spaceships?" Other aliens started talking at once. Jake heard words like impossible and primitive coming through the translator. He looked at Lisa, who gave him a small nod. They had expected this reaction. "Your planet Earth is very dangerous," said Ambassador Purple. "The gravity is too strong. The weather changes too much. You have poisonous plants and deadly animals everywhere. Most species would die in one day on your world. We call it home," Jake said simply. A red alien with 6 legs stood up. The translator said his name was General Fire something. "Show us your weapons, Deathworlders. We want to see how you fight." Lisa opened her briefcase. Inside were 3 human guns and boxes of bullets. She pulled out a pistol first, then a rifle, then a shotgun. The aliens leaned forward to look. "These are our basic weapons," Lisa said. She held up the pistol. "This one shoots metal bullets using controlled explosions. The bullet travels about 100-200 feet per second." The room went quiet. Then the bug alien started clicking again, but this time it sounded like laughter. "Controlled explosions? Metal projectiles? This is a joke, yes?" More aliens joined in what sounded like laughter. The Red General shook his head. "We use plasma rifles that shoot pure energy. Our particle beams can cut through 3 feet of solid steel. Your weapons are thousands of years old." Ambassador Purple held up one of his 4 hands for silence. "Please continue your demonstration, human." Lisa picked up a bullet and held it up. It was small and shiny. "This weighs about 15 grams. When we fire it, chemical energy pushes it very fast. It hits the target and transfers all its energy into whatever it hits." A blue alien with tentacles instead of arms spoke up. "Our energy weapons adapt to any defense. They learn and become stronger. Your metal rocks cannot learn or adapt." Kate whispered to Ryan. "These aliens have never been in a real fight." Ryan nodded. He had fought in the Earth Wars when the continents finally stopped fighting each other. He knew what bullets could do to living things. These aliens clearly did not. Ambassador Purple asked, "How do you aim these primitive weapons?" "We point and shoot," Jake said. "We train our soldiers to hit targets from very far away. Some of our best shooters can hit a target smaller than your hand from over a mile away." The aliens looked confused. One of them asked, "But how do your bullets track moving targets? How do they adjust for wind and distance?" "They don't," Lisa said. "Our shooters learn to calculate all that in their heads. We practice until we can do it without thinking." The room fell silent again. Jake could see the aliens trying to understand this concept. Their weapons probably did all the thinking for them. General Fire something stood up again. "You mean your soldiers must learn to use their weapons instead of the weapons learning to use themselves?" "That's right," Kate said. She stepped forward. "Every human soldier trains for months just to shoot straight. We learn to fight in the rain, in the dark, in the mud. We learn to keep fighting when our equipment breaks." Ambassador Purple's robes, changed to a darker color. Fascinating. Your species develops individual skill instead of relying only on technology. We have to, Jake said. Earth tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to be tough or we died. A small green alien raised what might have been a hand. But surely your weapons cannot compete with modern technology. Our shields can stop any energy weapon. Our armor adapts to any attack. Lisa smiled for the first time since entering the room. Maybe we could arrange a demonstration sometime. The aliens looked at each other. Jake could tell they were having private conversations he could not hear. Finally, Ambassador Purple spoke again. We have a proposal for your species. There is a threat to our galaxy. Machines that consume everything in their path. They adapt to our weapons very quickly. We need soldiers who are not afraid to fight impossible battles. Jake thought about this. You want us to be your soldiers? You would be part of our military forces, yes. Your people are tough. You might survive battles that would destroy other species. Ryan and Kate exchanged looks. They both knew what the aliens really meant. Humans would be the ones sent to die first. We'll need to discuss this with our government, Jake said. Of course. But first you must understand the enemy we face. These devourers have destroyed 17 civilizations. They learn from every battle. They become stronger with each victory. Ambassador Purple's robes turned dark red. They have never faced Deathworlders before. Perhaps your primitive weapons might surprise them. Jake noticed that none of the aliens looked very confident when they talked about these devourers. Whatever these machines were, they had the entire galaxy scared. We'll help however we can, Jake said. He meant it. Earth had always faced impossible odds. As the meeting ended, Jake watched the aliens file out of the room. Most of them still looked at human weapons like they were toys. They had no idea what humans could really do. Lisa closed her briefcase. They have no respect for kinetic weapons. They will, Kate said quietly. Eventually. 3 months passed since the first meeting with the aliens. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty, watching the stars through the big window. His ship was traveling faster than light, something that still amazed him even after doing it dozens of times. The emergency message had come in 2 hours ago. The voice belonged to Admiral Bluescale, one of the alien commanders Jake had met. The Admiral sounded scared, which worried Jake more than he wanted to admit. Captain Morrison, said Lisa Carter as she walked onto the bridge. I've been studying the data they sent us about these devourers. It's not good news. Jake turned away from the window. How bad is it? Very bad. The devourers broke through something called the Kepler defense line. That was supposed to be impossible. The aliens had their best ships and weapons there. Ryan. Brooks looked up from his control station. How many ships did they lose? Most of them, Lisa said. Her face was pale. The aliens are calling it the worst military disaster in their history. And their history goes back 50,000 years. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Earth had agreed to help the Galactic Confederation, but this sounded bigger than anyone had expected. What exactly are these devourers? Lisa activated a screen that showed a metal ship shaped like a giant spider. They're machines, artificial intelligence that builds more of itself. They consume everything they find to make more ships and more weapons. The bridge went quiet as everyone stared at the image. The devourer ship looked evil, all sharp edges and glowing red lights. Here's the scary part, Lisa continued. They learn. Every time the aliens shoot them with energy weapons, the devourers adapt. Their shields get stronger, their armor gets better. After a few battles, the alien weapons become completely useless. Kate Williams joined them on the bridge. She had been training with some alien soldiers and looked tired. The bug people I was working with are terrified. They keep saying their plasma rifles worked fine at first, then suddenly stopped working. At all. How does that happen? Ryan asked. The devourers scan every energy weapon that hits them, Lisa explained. They figure out exactly how it works. Then they build defenses against it. Within minutes, that type of weapon becomes harmless to them. Jake rubbed his forehead. This sounded impossible to fight against. So they become immune to whatever you shoot them with? Exactly. The aliens have been fighting them for 10 years. At first, the aliens won every battle. Now they lose every battle. The Devourers have adapted to every weapon in the galaxy. A new voice spoke from the communication system. It was Ambassador Purple, but he sounded very different from their first meeting. His voice shook with fear. Captain Morrison, thank you for coming so quickly. We need your help at Proxima Colony. The Devourers are attacking one of our most important worlds. We're on our way, Jake said. How long do we have? Perhaps 6 hours before the colony falls. We have sent every available ship, but I fear it will not be enough. Jake looked around at his crew. They all had the same expression he probably did, worried but determined. Ambassador, we're bringing 3 other human ships with us. Captains Alex Turner, Sam Davis, and Nina Rodriguez are good commanders. 4 human ships against 1,000 Devourer vessels, Ambassador Purple said. I hope your Deathworld training prepared you for impossible odds. After the communication ended, Jake called a meeting with his senior officers. They gathered in the small conference room next to the bridge. Opinions? Jake asked. We're going to get killed, Ryan said bluntly. 4 ships against 1,000? That's not a battle, that's suicide. Kate disagreed. The aliens have been fighting these things wrong. They rely too much on their fancy technology. When that fails, they don't know what to do. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Kate stood up and started pacing. I've been watching how these aliens fight. They press buttons and let their computers do everything. When I asked them about hand-to-hand combat, they looked at me like I was crazy. So? Ryan said. So when their energy weapons stop working, they have no backup plan. They don't know how to fight with anything else. Jake started to understand. But we do. Exactly. We've been fighting with simple weapons for thousands of years. Swords, spears, bows and arrows, gunpowder weapons. We know how to adapt when our first plan fails. Lisa pulled up the data about Devourer defenses. Look at this. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, fusion missiles. But I don't see any mention of kinetic defenses. Kinetic? Ryan asked. Physical, objects, things that hit you instead of burning you. The Devourers have never faced bullets because nobody in the galaxy uses bullets anymore. Jake felt a spark of hope. You think our weapons might work against them? Maybe. Their adaptive systems are designed to counter energy attacks. They might not know how to handle old-fashioned projectiles. Kate smiled for the first time all day. A bullet is just a piece of metal flying really fast. You can't adapt to physics. The ship's communication system crackled to life. It was Captain Turner from the UES Freedom. Jake, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Jake looked at the main screen. They had dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Proxima Colony. What he saw made his heart sink. The space around the colony was full of burning alien ships. Hundreds of them drifted dead in space. The Devourer fleet looked like a swarm of metal spiders, each one the size of a city block. Dear God, Lisa whispered. Admiral Bluescale's voice came through the radio, filled with despair. Human ships, stay back. Our weapons are useless. The Devourers have adapted to everything we have. We cannot even scratch their hulls anymore. Jake watched as another alien ship exploded. The crew had probably been his allies' best and bravest soldiers. Now they were dead because their weapons had stopped working. Captain Davis here, came another voice. Jake, what's the plan? Jake looked at his crew. Kate nodded at him. Lisa checked her weapons data one more time. Ryan prepared the ship's systems for battle. We're going in close, Jake announced to all 4 human ships. Real, close. Close enough to use our projectile weapons. That's insane, Admiral Bluescale protested. The Devourers will destroy you before you get within range. Maybe, Jake said. But our weapons work differently than yours. They might not be ready for what we're bringing. He switched to the human ship frequency. All human vessels prepare for close combat. Load all kinetic weapons. We're going to find out if these machines know how to stop good old-fashioned bullets. Outside the window, the Devourer fleet began turning toward the 4 human ships. Jake could see weapon ports opening on their hulls. ready to destroy these foolish Deathworlders who dared to approach. Kate strapped herself into her combat station. Time to see if being primitive has any advantages. The battle for Proxima Colony was about to begin, and the entire galaxy's fate might depend on weapons the aliens considered ridiculous. The first Devourer ship fired at the human fleet. Jake Morrison watched a beam of red energy streak toward his ship. The beam was thick as a telephone pole and hot enough to melt steel in seconds. "Brace for impact," Ryan Brooks shouted from his station. The energy beam hit the Liberty's shields and bounced off harmlessly. Jake blinked in surprise. Their shields held easily against the attack that had been destroying alien ships all day. "That's strange," Lisa Carter said, checking her instruments. "That beam should have cut right through us." More Devourer ships opened fire. Dozens of energy beams lanced out toward the 4 human vessels. All of them bounced off the human shields without causing any damage. Captain Turner's voice came over, the radio from the UES Freedom. "Jake, are you seeing this? Their weapons aren't even scratching our paint." Jake frowned. Something was wrong here. If the Devourers could destroy the alien fleet so easily, why weren't they hurting the human ships? "Lisa, run a comparison between our shields and the alien shields," Jake ordered. Lisa's fingers flew over her computer. After a few seconds, her eyes went wide. "Captain, I think I know what's happening. The Devourers have adapted their weapons to destroy alien energy shields, but our shields work completely differently." "How so?" "Alien shields are pure energy fields. They stop attacks by absorbing and redirecting energy. The Devourers learned to overcome that. But our shields are kinetic, barriers mixed with energy fields. The Devourers have never seen anything like our shield technology." Kate Williams grinned from her weapon station. "So their super-adapted weapons don't work on us?" "Exactly. They've spent 10 years learning to beat alien technology. They know nothing about human technology." Admiral Bluescale's voice crackled over the communication system. "Human ships, how are you surviving their attacks? Our most powerful vessels were destroyed in seconds." "Different technology," Jake replied simply. "We're moving in for close attack. All alien ships, pull back to minimum safe distance." "Captain Morrison, that is suicide," Admiral Bluescale protested. "No ship has ever survived that close to a Devourer fleet." "We're about to change that," Jake said. The 4 human ships accelerated toward the Devourer fleet. Jake could see the enemy vessels clearly now. They were huge, each one bristling with weapon ports and sensor arrays. Red lights pulsed along their hulls like angry eyes. "Range to target, 2,000 meters and closing," Ryan reported. "Kate, are our weapons ready?" Jake asked. Kate checked her display. "All kinetic weapons loaded and ready. Projectile cannons, railguns, and good old-fashioned machine guns. We've got enough bullets to fight for hours." The Devourers seemed confused by the approaching human ships. They kept firing their energy weapons, but the beams had no effect. Jake could almost imagine the machine intelligence trying to figure out why their adapted weapons weren't working. 1,000 meters, Ryan announced. "Open fire," Jake commanded. The Liberty's main cannon fired first. It shot a solid metal projectile, the size of a car engine. The round traveled at incredible speed, powered by magnetic acceleration. It hit the nearest Devourer ship square in the center. The result was spectacular. The metal projectile punched completely through the enemy vessel like it was made of paper. Explosions erupted from the impact point as the round tore through critical systems inside the ship. "Direct hit," Kate shouted with excitement. "That thing didn't even slow our round down." All 4 human ships opened fire at once. Hundreds of projectiles streaked through space toward the Devourer fleet. Machine gun bullets, cannon shells, and railgun rounds filled the void between the 2 forces. The Devourers had no defense against the kinetic attack. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not physical projectiles. The metal rounds passed right through their defenses and smashed into their hulls. Jake watched in amazement as Devourer ships began exploding all around them. These were the same vessels that had been unstoppable against alien forces. Now they were being torn apart by simple bullets and cannon shells. "Captain Davis here," came a voice over the radio. "My God, Jake, it's working. These things have no idea how to stop kinetic weapons." One of the larger Devourer ships tried to ram the UES Courage, Captain Rodriguez's vessel. Nina's ship dodged easily and raked the enemy with machine gun fire. The bullets shredded the Devourer's hull, causing it to break apart in a series of explosions. The enemy is trying to adapt, Lisa reported, watching her sensors. I can see their shields changing configuration, but they don't know what they're adapting to. They've never faced physical projectiles before. A group of Devourer ships surrounded the UES Thunder, Captain Turner's ship. Alex opened fire with everything he had. His railguns punched holes through 3 enemy vessels in seconds. The remaining Devourers tried to retreat, but human weapons tracked them easily. Kate, prepare boarding parties, Jake ordered. We're going inside one of these things. Kate's eyes lit up. She had been hoping for close combat. Aye, sir. Loading up with kinetic weapons and explosive charges, Jake piloted the Liberty alongside a damaged Devourer ship. The enemy vessel was still functional but badly hurt from multiple projectile hits. Kate and her Marines prepared to board using magnetic grapples and cutting tools. Be careful in there, Jake warned. We don't know what kind of defenses they have inside. Kate checked her rifle one more time. It was a simple projectile weapon that fired metal bullets using chemical propellant. The most basic weapon technology humans had, and apparently exactly what was needed. Don't worry, Captain. We've been fighting in close quarters for thousands of years. These machines are about to learn why humans are called Deathworlders. The boarding party launched from the Liberty's docking bay. They flew across the gap between ships using personal thrusters, their magnetic grapples pulling them toward the enemy hull. Kate could see holes in the Devourer ship where human projectiles had punched through. They landed on the enemy hull with metallic clangs that echoed through their helmets. Kate's team immediately began cutting through the outer armor using plasma torches. The metal parted easily, revealing corridors filled with strange machinery. We're inside, Kate reported over her radio. The interior looks like a factory mixed with a computer. There are machines everywhere. The first Devourer they encountered looked like a metal spider the size of a man. It fired some kind of energy weapon at Kate's team. The beam bounced harmlessly off their kinetic armor, which was designed to stop bullets, not energy. Kate raised her rifle and fired 3 rounds. The bullets punched through the machine's body, shattering its internal components. Sparks flew as the Devourer collapsed in a heap of broken metal. Their weapons don't work on us either, Kate reported with satisfaction. But ours work just fine on them. More Devourers appeared in the corridor. They were different sizes and shapes, but all were clearly machine intelligences. They fired various energy weapons at the human boarding party, but none of their attacks could penetrate human armor designed for kinetic defense. Kate's Marines advanced methodically, shooting every machine they encountered. Their bullets tore through Devourer bodies like they were made of tin foil. The machines seemed completely unprepared for enemies who could ignore their weapons while destroying them with simple projectiles. Captain Morrison, Kate called over the radio. You need to see this. These machines have been adapting to energy weapons for so long, they forgot how to defend against anything else. Jake smiled as he watched the battle outside. The mighty Devourer fleet was being destroyed by the galaxy's most primitive weapons. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. The news of humanity's victory at Proxima Colony spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Jake Morrison stood in the same giant meeting room where he had first met the aliens 3 months ago. This time, the atmosphere was completely different. Ambassador Purple's robes glowed bright gold instead of their usual rainbow colors. He walked toward Jake with all 4 arms extended in what Jake had learned was a gesture of deep respect among his people. Captain Morrison, Ambassador Purple said, his voice full of emotion. You have achieved what we thought was impossible. The Devourer fleet that destroyed our greatest armada was eliminated in under 2 hours. Admiral Bluescale approached next. The fish-like alien had been wounded in the battle, with bandages covering half his face. I owe you an apology, human. When I first saw your primitive weapons, I thought you were a joke. I was wrong. Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. We just did what needed to be done. Our weapons worked because the Devourers had never seen them before. More than that, said General Fire Something, the red alien who had laughed at human weapons during the first meeting. Your tactics, your courage, your willingness to fight at close range. These are things we had forgotten. The bug alien clicked. Forward, the one who had mocked human technology. Through the translator, his voice sounded humble. We request permission to learn from your people. Our weapons are useless, but yours saved the galaxy. Lisa Carter opened several cases full of human weapons and ammunition. Aliens crowded around to examine bullets, rifles, and cannon shells. The same weapons they had dismissed as ancient junk were now being studied like precious artifacts. The principle is simple, Lisa explained to a group of alien engineers. Chemical energy pushes a metal projectile very fast. The projectile transfers its energy to whatever it hits through impact. A blue, tentacled alien raised what might have been a hand. But how do you make the projectile track moving targets? How does it adapt to changing conditions? It doesn't, Lisa said patiently. The person firing the weapon does all the thinking. We aim manually, calculate distance and wind speed in our heads, and adjust for moving targets by predicting where they will be. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. One of them asked, "Your soldiers must calculate physics problems during combat?" "Every shot," Kate Williams said, joining the conversation. She had become famous throughout the galaxy as the human who led the first successful boarding action against a devourer ship. "We trained for years to do it automatically." Admiral Bluescale studied a simple rifle with fascination. "This weapon has no computer guidance, no target tracking, no adaptive systems." "None," Kate confirmed. "Point and shoot. The skill is in the person, not the weapon." "Remarkable," the Admiral muttered. "We built weapons that think for us. You built weapons that make you think better." Over the following weeks, human instructors arrived from Earth to teach alien forces. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations suddenly needed to learn what they considered Stone Age technology. Jake found himself working with General Fire Something, whose real name was too complex for human tongues. The red alien was surprisingly quick to learn human tactics. "Your people fight differently than any species we have encountered," the general observed as they watched human Marines training his soldiers. "You expect your equipment to fail. You plan for the worst possible situations." "Earth taught us that," Jake explained. "Our planet tried to kill us every day. We learned to have backup plans for our backup plans." The general nodded slowly. "We became dependent on our technology. When it failed against the devourers, we had no other options." Captain Turner arrived with a fleet of human supply ships. They carried millions of bullets, thousands of rifles, and plans for building kinetic weapons. Alien factories that had produced energy weapons for centuries began retooling to make simple projectile weapons. Dr. Carter worked with alien scientists to adapt human weapons to different species. The bug aliens needed lighter rifles because their arms were weaker. The tentacled aliens required weapons they could operate with flexible appendages instead of fingers. "The hardest part is changing how they think," Lisa told Jake during one of their planning meetings. "These aliens are used to pressing a button and letting their weapons do everything. Teaching them to aim manually is like teaching someone to walk again." The breakthrough came when General Fire Something's troops faced their first Devourer probe ship. The machine vessel entered the system expecting to find defenseless aliens with useless energy weapons. Instead, it encountered red aliens armed with human-designed rifles. The Devourer ship fired its adapted energy weapons at the alien defenders. The beams bounced harmlessly off kinetic shields based on human technology. The confused machine tried every energy weapon in its arsenal, but none of them worked. Then the aliens opened fire with their new projectile weapons. Metal bullets punched through the Devourer's hull just as effectively as they had when humans fired them. The machine ship was destroyed in minutes. "It works," General Fire Something reported excitedly to Jake. "My soldiers can use your weapons as effectively as your own Marines." Word of the success reached every corner of the galaxy. Species that had been hiding from the Devourers began emerging from their shelters. The bug aliens proved especially talented with sniper rifles, their compound eyes allowing for incredible accuracy at long range. The tentacled aliens developed a new fighting style, using multiple rifles at once, firing with different appendages, while moving in patterns no human could match. Even the peaceful plant-like aliens began growing weapons that fired seed pods at high velocity. Ambassador Purple called another great meeting. This time, representatives from over 100 species attended. Jake looked out at the vast crowd and realized how much had changed. "The Devourers have been our greatest fear for 50 years, Ambassador Purple announced. They seemed unstoppable, because they could adapt to any weapon we used against them, but they could not adapt to weapons they had never encountered." The crowd murmured agreement. Jake could see weapons everywhere now. Aliens who had never carried guns before now had rifles slung over their shoulders or holstered at their sides. "The humans have taught us that advancement is not always about complexity," the ambassador continued. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." General Fire Something stood up. "I propose a joint military operation. Every species working together under human tactical leadership. We will take the fight to the Devourer homeworld and end this threat forever." The crowd erupted in cheers. Species that had been at war with each other for centuries were now volunteering to fight side by side. The common enemy had united the galaxy in a way nothing else ever could. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Earth had given the galaxy the tools to fight back, but now they needed to use those tools to win the war. Admiral Bluescale approached. "Jake, after the meeting, Captain Morrison, will you lead this operation? The galaxy trusts human judgment now more than our own." Jake looked around at the aliens preparing for war. They carried human weapons and had learned human tactics, but they were still the same. Species that had survived and thrived among the stars for thousands of years. "We'll do it together," Jake said. "Humans and aliens fighting as one force. The Devourers adapted to beat each species individually. Let's see how they handle all of us working as a team." The greatest military operation in galactic history was about to begin, and it would be led by the species with the most ridiculous weapons anyone had ever seen. The Devourer homeworld looked like a nightmare made of metal and fire. Jake Morrison stared at it through the main window of the UES Liberty as the largest fleet in galactic history approached the machine planet. The world was 3 times bigger than Earth, covered entirely in factories and weapon platforms. Millions of Devourer ships swarmed around it like angry insects. Red lights pulsed across the planet's surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Final count shows 1,200 Allied ships," Ryan Brooks reported from his station. "Every major species in the galaxy is represented." Jake nodded as he watched the mixed fleet on his displays. Human vessels flew alongside alien ships of every shape and size imaginable. Bug alien ships that looked like flying beetles. Red alien warships shaped like flames. Blue tentacled alien vessels that moved like jellyfish through space. All of them carried the same types of weapons now. Kinetic projectile systems based on human designs. Simple metal bullets and cannon shells that had saved the galaxy from an enemy no energy weapon could touch. "Phase 1 begins in 10 minutes, announced Captain Nina Rodriguez over the fleet communication system. Her ship, the UES Courage, led the first attack wave along with alien vessels commanded by General Fire Something and Admiral Bluescale. Lisa Carter monitored the enemy response from her science station. "The Devourers are activating every defensive system on the planet. I'm reading energy signatures I've never seen before." "Let them," Kate Williams said from her weapons control station. "They can charge up all the energy weapons they want. None of them will work against our attack." The first phase of the battle began exactly as planned. Captain Rodriguez led 300 ships in a massive frontal assault on the Devourer homeworld. Every ship in the attack wave fired energy weapons as fast as they could. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion missiles, and every other type of energy weapon in the galactic arsenal lit up space around the machine planet. The attack was spectacular, filling the void with brilliant colors and explosions. The Devourers responded exactly as the humans had predicted. Every defensive system on the planet activated at once. Millions of energy weapons fired back at the attacking fleet. The machine intelligence pushed all its adaptive systems to maximum power, learning to counter every energy attack within minutes. "Perfect," Jake said as he watched the battle unfold. "They're taking the bait. The Devourer defenses became stronger and stronger as they adapted to each new energy weapon. Soon, the alien energy attacks were bouncing off harmlessly. The machine intelligence had once again proven it could adapt to any energy-based assault. But that had never been the real plan. Phase 2. Begin attack, Jake announced to the entire fleet. The second wave consisted of 900 ships armed entirely with kinetic weapons, human railguns, alien mass drivers, and hundreds of variations of projectile weapons opened fire all at once. The space between the fleet and the Devourer homeworld filled with metal projectiles. Bullets, cannon shells, and solid slugs streaked toward the planet at tremendous speeds. Some were as small as pebbles, others as large as cars. The Devourer defenses tried to adapt, but there was nothing to adapt to. A bullet was just a piece of metal moving fast. No amount of technological advancement could change the basic laws of physics. Jake watched with satisfaction as the kinetic bombardment tore through the planet's defenses. Weapon platforms exploded as solid projectiles punched through their armor. Factory complexes collapsed as cannon shells destroyed their support structures. Ground assault teams prepare for landing, Kate announced over the communication system. Captain Turner led the ground invasion with mixed human and alien forces. The bug aliens had become expert snipers, picking off individual Devourer units from incredible distances. The red aliens fought with fierce determination, their new kinetic weapons blazing. Jake piloted the Liberty toward the planet's surface along with the assault fleet. The ship shook as it entered the atmosphere through clouds of smoke and debris from the orbital bombardment. They landed near what appeared to be the planet's central control complex. Jake could see massive spires reaching toward the sky, all connected by bridges and tunnels. This was where the Devourer intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy made its decisions. "Remember the plan," Jake told his crew as they prepared to leave the ship. "We find the central core and shut down the main intelligence. Without leadership, the individual Devourer units will become much less dangerous." Kate led the way as they moved through the alien landscape. The ground was made of metal plates and the air smelled like burning circuits. Devourer machines attacked them constantly, but the simple kinetic weapons cut through the enemy like they were made of paper. "Captain Morrison," came General Fire Something's voice over the radio. "My forces have reached the outer ring of the control complex. These machines keep trying to use energy weapons against us." "Same here," reported Admiral Bluescale. "They fire their adapted energy beams, we ignore them completely. Then we shoot them with bullets and they fall apart. I almost feel sorry for them." The assault teams fought their way deeper into the complex. Jake marveled at how well the different species worked together. Humans provided tactical leadership while aliens contributed their unique abilities. The tentacled aliens could operate weapons in ways no human could match. The bug aliens could see targets humans missed entirely. They reached the central core after 2 hours of fighting. It was a massive chamber filled with computing equipment that stretched from floor to ceiling. In the center sat a crystalline structure that pulsed with red light. "That's it," Lisa said, scanning the structure with her equipment. "That's the main Devourer intelligence. All the machine units across the galaxy receive orders from this core." Hundreds of Devourer machines poured into the chamber to defend their master. They fired every type of energy weapon Jake had ever seen, plus several new ones the intelligence had probably just invented. All of the energy attacks bounced harmlessly off the kinetic armor worn by the assault teams. Jake almost laughed at the irony. The galaxy's greatest artificial intelligence was being defeated by the oldest weapons known to thinking beings. "Open fire," Kate commanded. Every weapon in the chamber opened fire at once. Bullets from dozens of different species and hundreds of different guns converged on the central core. The crystalline structure cracked under the kinetic assault, its red light flickering. The Devourer intelligence made one last desperate attempt to save itself. It activated energy shields that could have stopped any known energy weapon. But the bullets passed right through the shields as if they weren't there. The core shattered completely, its fragments scattering across the floor. The red light died and suddenly all the Devourer machines in the chamber stopped moving. "That's it," Lisa announced, checking her instruments. "The central intelligence is destroyed. I'm reading system failures across the entire planet. Jake activated his communication system to reach the fleet. All units, this is Morrison. The Devourer Central Intelligence has been eliminated. Repeat, the primary target is down. Cheers erupted from every ship in the fleet. 1,200 vessels, representing dozens of species, celebrated the end of a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the radio, filled with emotion. Jake, we're reading Devourer ships shutting down all across the system. Without the Central Intelligence, they don't know what to do. Over the following days, cleanup teams found Devourer machines all across the galaxy powering down and becoming inactive. Without their adaptive Central Intelligence, the individual units were just simple robots following basic programming. The victory celebration took place back at the Galactic Confederation headquarters. Jake found himself surrounded by alien dignitaries who wanted to thank him personally for saving their civilizations. Ambassador Purple's robes had changed to pure gold, a color Jake learned represented ultimate respect and gratitude among his people. Captain Morrison, humanity has earned a permanent place of honor in our government. Your species will never be considered primitive again. Jake smiled as he looked around the celebration. Aliens from every corner of the galaxy carried human-style weapons and wore kinetic armor. The most advanced civilizations in known space had learned to fight with what they once considered Stone Age technology. We didn't save the galaxy with advanced technology, Jake said to the assembled crowd. We saved it by remembering that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Sometimes the old ways work better than the new ways. Kate raised her rifle above her head, the same simple projectile weapon that had started everything. Here's to the most ridiculous weapons in the galaxy. They may not be fancy, but they get the job done. The crowd cheered as Jake realized that humanity had not just won a war. They had taught an entire galaxy that progress wasn't always about building more complex technology. Sometimes it was about understanding when simple solutions were better than complicated ones. The Deathworlders had saved everyone with the most basic weapons imaginable, proving that in a universe full of advanced technology, there was still room for a good old-fashioned bullet.